But check this though, yo. So someone hasn't spoken to you that you absolutely love, right? And that you've demonstrated that you love. And there are some things going on, and maybe you haven't had a conversation about them, but there's love there. And then they're saying, okay, I really didn't want to call you, but I'm going to call you. But I didn't want to, and you know I wouldn't, but I am. Because the need is great, but I don't really want to be talking to you, but I'm gonna like, it's disrespectful. And so I was like, yeah. And so, because I had done some work, right? Thank God for therapy, TM pending. I was like, in this moment, let me not shut it down. Because I think the worst thing that could have happened was like, I respond like, well, what the fuck have you been doing? How come you're in, like responding in a way that could have been negative. So I left that open and was like, I think I said, yeah, well, what do you need? And which is what I'm going to say to my children because I birthed them. But I got off the phone and was like, what the fuck? Like, how's she just gonna call? And I did have a conversation with a couple of people in the community, and both were like, right? And I said, what's my bigger goal? So right at the time that this was happening,
wow,
your younger brother had lost his fucking mind, and so I was really dealing with. It's not his podcast, but I was really dealing with some of his shit. And I was like, what I'm not going to do with these arts is y'all not going to take me out, right? So I was like, let me go back to therapy and really get deeply into this because they weren't going to take me out. Like, I couldn't have it. So what I wanted more than anything was reconciliation for the family. And so when you called, I had to be like, do I want to go off? Or do I want to try and have reconciliation? Also, you came humble. And I know I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. She did not come with the full-on, because see, when Dorielle thinks she knows something, the rest of you don't know anything. And so the way that Dorielle can talk to you sometimes, like you are absolutely ignorant.
I'm my mother's daughter. I'm my mother's daughter. You are the same way.
Oh my God.
She is I got that from her.
I don't see it at all.
People say we're both condescending. People always say that.
People do say that. However, I feel like I have a kindness that has come from years.
Fuck no.
See, here's the thing though. Okay. All right. Truth be told, sometimes I can be very condescending. I'm not going to lie. I think part of it was Dorielle was like 22, coming from some years of Spelman, trying to tell me everything that she needs to tell me about my life. And I was like, I birthed you. So.
And to this day.
So.
A lot of shit I said I was right.
That is true. That's how
but that's how I said it.
Yes.
No, that's the ego release.
Yes.
Because even still, I said we were going to be.
Absolutely.
I knew we were going to get here.
Yes.
Did I need to not talk to my mother for 2 years to accomplish it?
Well, I mean,
maybe
we
not.
don't know. Maybe.
We don't. That's a bug.
But you also said I need to quit OUSD and I need to start my own business. So I'm not saying the content that you said was
the material.
The material was beautiful. But when it's wrapped in some trash, I can't see the material because I'm like, oh, so you serving this up in trash bags. I don't want that. And then
I wasn't shit.
Not only serving it up though, but you don't know anything. And it was the unspoken. I have studied and I'm telling you what God told me because you don't know what you do. Like it was disrespectful. So when you finally did make a call, it was a different Dorielle. Mm-hmm. It was not Miss Disrespectful. Of course, she was broke too. There was that. But it was like there was need. Here's the thing. If we go back to the definition of motherhood that I talked about, my definition has always been to create the space and provide the resources for my children to do what they need to do. That, to me, is what a mom, that's like a definition of motherhood. So when you needed that, I believe I asked, like, what was it? And you were like, because it wasn't just like, I need some money to go. So it was like a real specific something for your car or something. I can't remember. But it was something very specific. And I felt like I could get behind that because it was tangible.
Yes. So to your point, I have realized that this is something I actually need to work on. I will make the situation sound dire to allow people to understand why and that I appreciate them. That does not work for everybody, right? Because I did this with I think I told my friend, I was like, yeah, girl, like, because I don't just hang out with everybody. Like, girl, I would not have you be here. As a way of telling her that I value her. But I'm learning literally, like, that's not the best way to communicate that. That makes people feel that I don't want to do it. And instead of me, like, trying to come off as like, hey, like, I genuinely called you specifically, and I would not have had it not been serious. And so I wanted to emphasize, like, this is serious. I don't want to just use you for your money. And that's one of the conversations that I do remember saying. I was like, Mom, like, I've applied all my other resources. I finessed it here. I made some money over here. I'm doing this. You're right. I think I was like, hey, Mom, I just need this to get my car fixed, and I'm going to figure the rest out. Like, you don't have to worry about it. And I think that was to say, like, hey, like, there's a reason why I'm calling you. And there's a reason why I feel like the universe has put us in the situation for it to only be you. Because if I could, I probably would have tried to just keep having the ego and doing it my own way. But that wasn't the assignment. The assignment wasn't to keep doing it my own way. The freaking assignment was to call your mom and be humble and apologize and say that this is something that you need, and this is not just this. We also need to repair this, and I need to be humble about that. So I appreciate you acknowledging it. I also appreciate you being like, you were like, I didn't want to be nice. But that's the point of God. You know, that's the point of us having, you know, being women of faith and whatever it looks like. Is that both of us had to, essentially, I might call it ego death, you might call it therapy, it might be whatever the verbiage is. We had to get out of ourselves and our own shit and literally, like, what is the bigger goal? I'm like, you know, the bigger goal is to, even when I came back from Spelman, I was telling everybody what they need to do. My goal was to heal with my family.
Right.
And I don't think I was putting that intention out there. I think it came off with ego and less of the goal, which is Lineage lessons, which is to get here and to do work together. And after that, we did start doing work together, and you know, in West Contra Costa, and it was very beautiful. And people
I feel like there was a huge space between that call and then the doing, because we had to then have the big come back together where we saw each other in the community, and then you came over here, and that was really the beginning of the build.
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
You remember? That's good.
Yeah. So after that call, there was still like space because we hadn't talked. It was just like, oh, I need you, and then I sent you some money, but we hadn't really talked. And I was still praying, and apparently you went to some session with some black women.
Oh, a mother-daughter thing. Yes, because at that time, I was volunteering at Third Eye. I think. Yes, I was volunteering at Third Eye. And the mother wound was very apparent in my attachment to other women in the community, that this was a need. I needed to fix my relationship with my mother. And I did. I went to a mother-daughter thing, and they were teaching together. They were leading the workshop. And I was like, Mom, I think that we need to be doing this. Like, this is part of our calling. Like, what are we doing? I do remember that.
So it was right after that, apparently, that had happened to you. I didn't know anything about it. I'm in shopping at Target. This is back before, you know, so nobody come for us. This is before we decided not to shop at Target. It was a while ago. Before the boycott. And it was like 8:30 in the morning, and up walks Dorielle and Julian at Target. And I was like, because not only do I shop at the neighborhood Target, like I was in there all the time, and it was 8:30 in the morning. And I think I just left the gym or something, and you were like, hey, fancy meeting you here or something. And I was like, yeah. And you're like, yeah, we should talk. And I was like, yeah. And then I kept shopping, right? Because, you know, who knew? So then I did my work, and that afternoon,
this is the best hearing from your perspective. I'm sorry. This is I never got your side. This is good.
I love it.
Okay, tell me.
So then that same day,
I saw you twice, huh?
Yes, I went to Safeway.
That's true.
I think for my mother, and I'm shopping in Safeway. Again, you understand, I go to Target and Safeway every week, and had never seen you. And then I'm in Safeway, and you walked up to me, and I was like, "Are you stalking me?" And you were like, "This is God," in the middle of Safeway. "This is God. Clearly, I need my mother, and I need to be working on a relationship." I was like, "I'm just trying to get some groceries. If you could just let me go to the checkout line." And you were like, "No, this is," and I was like, "Yeah, it can be God. Can I get my groceries?"
Because I was trying to. Because the odds, you see somebody twice. It gets to a point, crazy. Girl, go talk to your mom.
Right, that's what she was saying, and I was like, and then she said, "This is the killer." So it had been. Now let's track it. We hadn't really really talked. We had been like maybe in a family situation, and she had called me, but we hadn't had there was still this space. So I see her at Target in the morning. In the afternoon around 2:30, I see her at Safeway. I'm trying to make groceries happen. She says, "I think it's time for us to talk. And so is it cool if I come by the house today?" I was like, "Today? Today you want to come by the house today? Today's happening? You're coming today?" You were like, "Yeah, what are you doing?" "I'm taking these groceries home." And you were like, "Yeah, I'm going to come by today because clearly this needs to happen." I had no warning. I didn't get I was like, let me get prayed up. Let me try. I need to call my mother. What's going to happen? You were like, "Yeah, what works for you?" And in the moment, I couldn't come up with a good enough lie to be like, "No, I've got so much to do. I work from home." So I was like, "Yeah, I guess around 4." You were like, "Cool, I'll be over." Stressed. All the way home, praying, like, okay, what is she going to say? What is this? And then also, was I ready? Right? I didn't know if I was really ready to release. Because let's be clear, while she was off figuring out ego and death to ego, I was off like, what the fuck? This is my girl. Like, the boys are the boys, but this is my girl. And I had been so friggin' intentional about wanting to, especially after everything that happened, like 10th grade, 11th grade, wanting to be like, I need to take care of my daughter. To the point where your younger brother was like, "So you're never home." But I was like, "But I'm in Atlanta though." Like, I was not going to let you going away to school stop us. And then when you came home, situation beyond our control just kept this chasm getting wider and wider and wider. And I couldn't believe that this was happening. I didn't know what I did wrong. And I didn't know what I could do. Since I didn't know what I did wrong, I didn't know what I could do right. Others weren't really helpful. And I didn't know. And it was painful as hell. So when I saw you and you was like, "Yeah, I'm ready now. I'm coming over to the house," I was like, So I don't know if you remember, you came over and you walked through the house. I've had my house remodeled. And so you hadn't really seen some of the upgrades. And you walked through the house and you were like, because previously you had walked through the house and you had been like, "I feel like you're erasing my childhood," which was crazy because it had nothing to do with you. But this time you walked through the house and you were like, "I see this for you. I think you really deserve this." And it was you saying that made me know that there had been a shift in your thinking. That's what happened.
Oh man, this is good. Damn, I wish I was watching this instead of living, because I was over here eating my biscuit like, "Oh, I knew what happened." Like it wasn't me. But that's real. That
real.
is true, because I was hating.
Yeah.
I mean, when you first got the remodel, I was like, "So you just trying to..."
Yes, take my childhood with your exact words.
No, I recall that. There is no cap in this episode.
I can't remodel a home.
I felt like it was erasure. It did feel like that. But I do remember what you're talking about, which is just so deep to think about. Like, that's my own reflection about, like, wow, my own growth, having to process that. Decentering yourself. Like, again, this topic of ego death for me is like, do I think I am? Like, she can't have a nice house? That's crazy. But furthermore, that's because I'm viewing you as my mom and not as a person. Like, this is your journey too. This is your life. I am one fraction of your life. And of course, that goes into like the definition of a mother. And when you have kids, you got to give your life up. But I'm like, that's crazy as fuck. Because then when we move out, then you just have nothing.
Exactly.
And I think that you having life after motherhood, because you're still always going to be my mother, but you having life after like that direct people living in your house is your freaking right.
Yeah.
You know, your life wasn't supposed to end. We wasn't supposed to just, oh, well, since you had an ugly house when we was growing up, you gonna be an ugly house having single person? Like, no one else living here, you just looking at the ugly wall? Like, I don't know. It was deep. I do remember that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I do remember that. That's so funny to hear from your perspective, because for me, I remember having gratitude for you. And I feel like that was more powerful than my pain, was seeing you. You said this earlier, actually, before we were on this, humanism. You were like, part of it in curiosity is to see the person as a human. And through my own healing journey, I was like, this is just a woman trying to figure it out with no examples, with, you know, yeah, it was just deep.
It remains deep too, because
that's so real.
there were all of these outside forces that I didn't realize. You and I talked about this. The way our relationship goes determines how the rest of the family moves, and I didn't realize that was so pivotal. And so there was a lot of family drama that was happening. And apparently, a lot of conversations were being had without me being in the room about me. And that added to my paranoia. So when folks were like, yeah, you know, so they were having conversations about you. And I was like, what? You know, and so there was just all this pain. And it was crazy.
I was really mad.
Yeah.
I had a lot going on. Yeah. That was not good. That was not good.
I think the learning there is, I mean, so many different pieces around learning, right? But the thing is, I know sometimes children don't see their parents as like whole humans, right? And children sometimes hold on to like an event that happened, and unless it's something, you know, obviously huge, you know, I get it, but sometimes there's small events that we don't even know, because as parents, I'm a mother of 4. I'm a mother and a wife, and I had 3 jobs. I'm just trying to make it, right? And so yes, I probably did something, and if I didn't know I did it, and if we didn't have a system to talk about it, and it festers for 3, 5, 6 years, yeah, it's really hard to come back from that. So I do hear you in terms of that humanistic piece. I know that this session is this. What are we calling these episodes?
A segment. I think.
Okay, great. I know this segment is going on and on and on. We started with what are some of the things that we had to change, and I think for me was not trying to overmother, and for you was death of the ego. I just want to sum this up because there's so much more. Now that we just talked about this, we have to unpack all these other pieces.
I know, I was like, damn.
Yeah, this was deep. But I do kind of want to summarize that. My learning really is that both people have to be willing to see beyond hurt.
Absolutely.
And that was the only way. So when you came in and said, oh, I really like this for you, Mom. Like, oh, okay, girl. Or you said something that was really affirming. My defenses that had been really, really high were able to kind of sit down a little bit. And then I could go into curiosity, which is what has to happen if you're ever going to come back from anything. And then I could listen to you. Now, parenthetically, you did talk for 47 minutes straight. And I was like, I don't know how to hit all that. So I think I was like, okay, thank you. I don't know where to go from here. You know, let's try and work it out. And that's when we decided we were going to work on it. So that's how that happened for me.
I remember coming back and wanting to share what I had realized with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I wanted to work on leading the conversations instead of letting the conversations come to me, because sometimes I have an agenda that I want to accomplish and I'm not articulating that. And so then it comes off with like inner resentment when I'm like, oh my God, well, the conversation with me and my mom went on to talk about like Dee Dee or something, my grandmother. Maybe we end up talking about like Ben or something, right? Realistically, I wanted to affirm that what I had done wrong. Like, I want to take certain accountabilities, because there's no, to your point, when you have to resolve a conflict or you have to reconcile, restoration, all of these magical words people just throw around now, it's like you cannot escape accountability. Even in this, this 45-minute conversation we just had, there was times where she said things and I was like, damn, I was in the wrong. And you just got to eat that up sometimes. Like, even if you have something to reply, or you have a way that you disagree, or, oh my God, well, that wasn't my intention. Sometimes it's wrong. And I think that is also very hard, to your point, from the maternal lens, is to receive like, damn, like, I did my best and I still fucked up at times. And I've heard from you several times, you're like, this is hard as fuck. And for other mothers and daughters out there, like, I have heard a lot of parents get stuck there. One of my friends to this day, I think she went to go visit her mom, and her mom was just like, I think we need therapy. And you had told me that before. But is the older person or the leader, the wise one, going to also be willing to accept where they may have done something wrong? And I think you and I were intentional about meeting in that middle ground of both of us, admitting like, okay, I could see what you were saying. Okay, well, this is my trauma. And, sometimes we had to decenter the issue itself and just have a pure blown conversation about fucking trauma that happened to us. And that requires vulnerability as well. Like, you don't get to, bounce back and sit here and have this conversation without being vulnerable. And so I think, it was work for both of us.
Absolutely.
We might have to do another segment on this topic. We only did 2 topics. I said one thing, ego dead thing. You said
no. I know we have to hit this again, because there's like the middle part that we jumped over, which was everything during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
But then also, just to double click on what you said, one of the things that we talked about was the lineage lessons, and what I want to say is, I have been doing my work while we were separated. So
Same.
I wasn't just like, I was angry and I was hurt, and I was specifically angry and hurt at family because I felt that they were taking your side. And that was very, 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 very difficult for me, right? Except the eldest, who was like, I need you guys to get it together, because he avoids conflict.
Me and him used to be.
Oh, okay, which I didn't know.
Yeah.
So there were like all of these pieces, and I couldn't figure out what I had done. So I go to therapy, and my therapist, who was a Black woman, right, was like, I need you to stand in your truth and your power and who you are, and the fact that you don't need to apologize for anything. And I was like, I'm not sure that this is going to be helpful, right? Because I wanted to, at all costs, I wanted reconciliation with my children at all costs, which is not to say, like I said, 1 and 4, 4 lived here and 1 was always good with me, but 2 and 3 were not feeling it at all. And
middle child syndrome.
Okay. But I wanted that. And so when my therapist was like, you need to apologize for nothing, don't let them take nothing away from you, and and I would go, before we went to family therapy, I would go to my own therapist, and she'd be like, here's how I need you to show up. And I categorically was like, it's time for a new therapist, because I wanted to shift what I needed to shift. And I'm going to end here. My prayer started with fix the reconciliation. Then my prayer started with fix Dorielle. And then the stuff happened with Ben. And then my prayer changed to, Lord, change me so that I can be a better parent to Ben and Dorielle.
If that ain't the most important part of this video.
I told you I was going to wrap it up.
Fuck. That was a hitter. Because I was like, change me. But, damn. You know what's
that's
crazy?
When my relationship with Ben improved.
That's real. You did tell me that. I didn't know that applied to me. But
yes.
That was helpful.
It was the Ards.
Oh, man. Because we're a different breed.
Y'all a different breed than the Blands.
Yeah, y'all. We have a special place on this earth to push against systems, I believe. Wow.
Yeah. So that's what happened. So more later. As always, this is Lineage Lessons. We still learning lessons. We had really never talked about this from my perspective, and so I know that was big and heavy. And also, there's so much still that we haven't unpacked in terms of some of these things that happened and where they sit. So, yeah, there's always more.
I didn't even get to say it this episode. That's how good this shit was. On the next segment of Lineage Lessons, wow.
Wow.
Join us.
Yeah, thanks
again.
so much.
Wow. Thank y'all. This was good.